Hello and welcome to another FPL Tom stream. I am joined by my good friend yet again, Jake. Jake, how are you doing today?
Good, thanks, Tom. I hope the same goes for you.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good day. I can't lie. In this stream we are going to be looking at the drafts that you sent me on Twitter. We have got 6 to go through. Hopefully we can get them done. We're going to go live for about an hour or so and kind of go through them, see what they're looking like, give you a score out of 10. If you have sent in a draft, then welcome. As always, as well, any questions, get them in the comments. Very simple stuff. And as well, if you do enjoy the content, like, subscribe. You know the drill by now. And we are trying to hit 1,500 subs by the end of the month. For about 250 away, so it's quite a big ask. But if we could do it, it would be absolutely amazing. Jake, before we look into people's drafts, have you got any questions or anything you want to say?
Not off the top of my head, but I'm sure these 6 or so drafts will give me plenty of questions or food for thought from any team. If you didn't watch our live stream last time, where mine had maybe some more questionable picks than Tom, I'm sure they'll give me some inspiration, and hopefully I can give some of my crazy information that may inspire some themselves.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we just don't dive straight into it. So we're going to move views and we're going to start off with Never Give Up FPL. He's going to be our first draft that we are taking a look at. It's a little bit laggy as well at the moment. Hopefully that just sorts itself out. It was fine last week. This week, nah, it don't want to be fine, does it? But the first draft that we are looking at is by Never Give Up FPL, and his team is quite strong. I'm not going to lie, it's a very, very good team. Estupinian, Saliba, Pedporo, Saka, Odegaard, Foden, Salah, Eze, Haaland, and Ferguson, as someone else says lag. Yeah, it looks a little bit laggy. Give me a second. We'll be back in a second.
I mean,
Oh. All right, I'm going to try something. Okay, so we're back. We are back now, Jake. We're going to see
sound.
how this works. We're going to turn these off just so you can see us in terms of audio input capture. Yeah. And we're going to filters. We're going to turn that off. See if that helps out in any way. And with this one, we are going to turn off these. Where is it? Yep, turn them off. That should be good. Jake hasn't come back. That's not good. That's not good. You've disappeared,
Hey, to be
mate.
fair, I can just be the voice of wisdom in the
Oh,
background.
this is the most well put together stream in the world. At least it doesn't look like it's lagging, which is
No, I can watch. I'm watching the stream, and you look fine.
he's watching the stream. So yeah, let's see if I can get you. Just what a shambles, mate. What a shambles. Absolute shambolic. Everyone watching, they're going, what a pile of horse shit this is. And you know what? They wouldn't be wrong. Yeah, exactly. FPL stockbroker. This is exactly how a live stream should be. All like the pro YouTubers, they're just too good at it. You want one that's just a bit naff. That's what people prefer. Okay. Apparently, Jake, you don't exist for some reason. So I don't know why. There we go. I think I've got you. I think. I hope.
I'll let you know in a sec.
It's just a frozen picture of you. Oh, this is shambolic. I do apologise, people that are watching.
Oh no, okay. It doesn't seem to be too bad, although I feel like the lag's a bit smelly again.
It's just like it just freezes you out for some reason. I have no idea why or what's going off today. Yeah. Absolute shambles, mate. Right, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. And let's try and load you back in. Oh, dear. Hope everyone's having a good day. Apparently you don't exist again. So, helpful.
Nice.
I reckon what might be worth doing is I'm going to put it back to the start screen and we'll just recall each other. See if that works. If not, we'll figure something else out. And apologies to everyone watching because, yeah, it's a shambles. It's an absolute shambles on our behalf. Everything was working fine before the stream and now shambles. So, yeah, see you in a minute. We'll call each other back and then hopefully we will get rating some of your drafts. What's cracking?
I mean, for me, I can still see this background. I don't know if that's an issue.
Yeah, sure, whatever. We are back live, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get Jake back in ASAP. Here he is. He's coming in. Just cropping him live on stream. Doesn't matter. Does not matter.
I mean, for me, I can still see this background.
We're back.
I think, mate, I think we're back. Hopefully, we're not lagging. Hopefully. It does look a bit laggy again, but I don't even know. Yeah, it's quite laggy again, which is helpful. Oh, what a car crash. What a car crash of a stream this is. Yeah.
Okay, now, hold on.
It's sorting itself out. I think we're good. That looks alright. Let us know in the chat if it is lagging, and we'll hold on this screen for like a minute.
Yeah,
See,
that does seem to be a lot better.
that does seem to have sorted itself out a little bit. I don't know what was happening before. So if you can let us know in the chat if it's all good. It looks good on our end. Doesn't look like you're lagging anymore and have become a potato. Yeah, all good now. We've got some people saying in the chat all good. So you know what? We're gonna plow on. I think I've got to put you back in this shot as well. This one. Yeah, I've got to put you back in. Hold on a second. Here he is again. Oh, you're in this time. You're in. Again, we'll hold on this screen for like a second or so. Let us know if this screen starts lagging, if it doesn't start lagging. If it does, then pain in the arse. Oh, it's lagging a bit. Hopefully it sorts itself out. Fingers crossed. We'll just hold for a minute. Again, if anyone in the chat can just let us know if there is any lag. It does look a little bit laggy, and then it seems to just sort itself out and then not sort itself out. It's really weird why it's doing this. There's no reason why it should be. So I'm not 100% sure why it is, which is weird. I think we're all good. I don't know. If you want to let us know in the chat if we are lagging still. If we're not, great. If we are, then yeah. I don't really know what to suggest anymore, to be honest, Jake.
We'll just have to persevere and see if we can get through it.
Yeah, it looks quite laggy. I'm not gonna lie, it does look quite laggy. The people watching, they've been treated to an excellent display tonight. Just arguably one of the best. So yeah, absolute shambles as always on this channel. You know, if you want to subscribe for the high quality content, probably look elsewhere. If you want to subscribe for the banter that you get to see when it's not lagging, yeah. Okay, what I'm going to try, because it doesn't seem to be working, is just make Jake disappear. So you can't see Jake's face, but he is here. Let me know if that fixes the issue. Apparently this sounds good, but the picture's lagging. So I've made you disappear, Jake. We will start in a minute once it kind of catches up on our like delayed play out, and we will see what we're working with and if that fixes all the issues. It does seem to have fixed all the issues, which is very weird. Right, okay, we're going to get going. We're going to start with this first draft. This is Never Give Up FPL's team. Jake, I hope you can see it, and I hope you can still hear me. We're going to run through this first team. Flecken in goal, Estupinian, Saliba, Pedporo at the back, Saka, Odegaard, Foden, Salah, Eze, Haaland, Ferguson, Areola, Baldock, and Bramthwaite and Surridge. So for me, I really like this draft. I think there's some really good picks in there. Obviously love Estupinian, big Pedporo fan, got him in my own draft myself. Don't hate Saliba, but I would prefer maybe a Gabriel. Saka's a good pick. Odegaard's an okay pick. Foden I like as a pick. Getting Salah and Haaland in the same draft as well is good. Question marks about potentially Ferguson's minutes, Is he going to be playing week in, week out? There is a question mark around that. And then Eze, I really like as a differential pick. Think Palace have kind of some good-ish fixtures. Not game week 2, but kind of beyond that. It kind of in, out. And at 6.5 million, he's potentially going to be their star man as well. Yeah, I don't think Odegaard is going to be the captain, George. I think this is just whatever someone sent me. I don't think that's what it's going to be in the end. I think they've just sent it me across. It's probably going to be Haaland. Jake, what do you make of this first draft then?
I think it is very strong, like you said. The only thing maybe looking at the defensive side,
Yeah.
The only thing that I'd potentially look to improve or swap out would be Pedro Porro, but I know that a lot of people would see the attacking outlet he offers. But the only alternative that I would maybe suggest is the fact that he has no United players in,
Yeah.
and they don't
Yeah.
have an awful start to the season with Wolves and Forest both at home in the two of the opening three games, away to Spurs as well. Like, who knows how that game will go. You're going to have to remind me, who's the goalkeeper there? I can't actually read the screen, unfortunately.
It's Flecken, the new Brentford goalkeeper. Now, I think this is quite like an interesting one because I think Brentford's plan was to move David Raya on to a Manchester United or a Spurs. That's not now happened. It looks like both of them, obviously Spurs have signed their goalkeeper from, I think it was Empoli they signed him from. And then it looks like Man United are going to buy Onana from Manchester United. So there's not really any demand for David Raya. You imagine no one in Europe's really going to pay 40 million for a goalkeeper. So what happens with the goalkeeper situation at Brentford? Who is going to be the number one? Because you've got Flecken, who's been playing in the Eredivisie, not the Eredivisie, Bundesliga, apologies, and has been very, very good. And then you have Raya as well. So who do you pick?
Well, it's one of those maybe where it's worth having Raya as the substitute goalkeeper as
Yeah,
opposed to Areola, because as much as I know you said Areola's a cheap goalkeeper in the previous stream we did, I would say that it is more likely than not that Fabianski will start the season.
yeah, he started a preseason game the other night. Areola wasn't in the squad, so we can't really kind of build too many conclusions from that. I think the safer thing to potentially do is just to take Flecken out. If you do want a Brentford player, maybe a Rico Henry. He's a really good shout. Plays really well in the kind of five at the back wing back system that Brentford play as well. So if you do want a Brentford defensive asset, there's always that available. And I think there's plenty of other good 4.5 million goalkeepers that are going to be in other people's drafts that potentially you could look at. So I think this first draft is strong in certain areas. Obviously, I like the Salah and Haaland are both in here. I think Odegaard could be dropped down to a Martinelli, frees up 0.5 million as well, which then you could upgrade maybe a Baldock or a Branthwaite to a Henry and then go and get yourself like a Leno, or even still keep the 4 million players on the bench and maybe look to get a Ramsdale, or when Onana comes in, go and get him, or a Luke Shaw or something like that.
Sam Surridge, I think, is potentially a bit of a wasted pick as well because it's highly unlikely he's going to start the season, considering how last season ended, and I don't think he had a sniff really. And I get that your substitutes are substitutes for a reason, but if he's not going to play any minutes, I don't think it's worth having him. I think, like you said, if you're going to downgrade maybe an Odegaard for a Martinelli or something like that, it affords that extra $500,000 to maybe bring in someone to just improve that bench ever so slightly. I don't mind the Branthwaite idea. I don't mind him being in his squad. He's just come back from the Euros, I believe, and there is a chance, considering Connor Cody not returning to the club, there is a chance he'll feature. And of course, you just got to wait to see how the season starts with Everton as to whether they start him or if they go for the more experienced pairing, depending on how many centre backs they play at the back. And yeah, we've spoken about this, haven't we, with the Baldock and Sheffield United. Who knows how they're going to turn out the season, but I think everyone does worry about them.
Yeah, I sent something into our Twitter chat earlier about Ndai potentially moving to Marseille. I think if he goes, they're in for a very, very long season. A couple Sheffield United fans at work as well, speaking about the fact that they've not really got any money to spend. So it could be a really, really long campaign, to be honest. Few people asking about cheap forwards and the best ones. Now, something that came out today was Mitrovic potentially going out to Saudi Arabia. Whether or not Fulham will buy another forward, you imagine they would. But if they don't, for the opening few game weeks, there's Vinicius. Vinicius? Is that how you say it? Vinicius?
Yeah, Carlos Vinicius, I believe.
Yeah, used to play for Spurs. He is only at 5 million. So if Mitrovic leaves and they don't buy another striker, then there is that as a potential opportunity for a cheap bench forward. And again, a lot of people saying Balogun in the chat. Again, Balogun's all dependent on a transfer away from Arsenal to become a really good asset. So for this first draft, I think I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I think there's some good players in here, like the Sakas, the Fodens, the Haalands. Eze is a pick I really like, but at the same time, there are areas of improvement. We spoke about the goalkeeper. We spoke about the lack of quality and potential playing minutes on the bench, and some other picks that could just be upgraded with 1 or 2 switches, the Salibas, the Odegaard. So I'm going to go with a 6. It's a good draft, but there is room for improvement. Jake, what are you going to give this first draft?
I beg to wonder what you would have given my draft, considering your scoring here, because I would be more inclined to be more flexible with his draft, because I actually think it's quite strong. I get what you mean about all the places where he could potentially improve, and I guess maybe you never know. I feel like the goalkeeper, if I know more about the situation at Brentford, that would be the kind of thing that I would overthink and maybe be like, oh, maybe he'll play and just be that differential, and who knows, maybe he'll have the last laugh with that goalkeeper situation. It's definitely not a safer option, but maybe it is an option that will come and actually pay off for him. So yeah, I'm going to give him a 7.
Oof, generous 7. Oof.
He's also managed to get Haaland and Salah in.
Yeah, he has also managed to get Haaland and Salah in and build a kind of respectable team. You see quite a few drafts with Haaland and Salah in, and they are not respectable in the slightest. Let's just put it that way. Right, let's move on to our next one. It is Guppy Fish's team. Again, Flecken in goal, Reece James, Estupinian, Shaw, Saka, another one with Odegaard and Buemo this time. Double Manchester United, Bruno Fernandes and Rashford, Gabby Jesus and Haaland up top. And then on the bench, Areola, I think it's Norrington, who I've never ever seen anyone ever pick. Didn't know he was a player. Branthwaite and Semenyo from Bournemouth. So that is our second draft. Jake, I hope you can see it. What are you saying?
You're gonna have to delay. Oh no, it's all right. It's come up.
Has it come up? There we go.
I'm of course watching the stream, so I'm relying on that popping up. But yeah, it has popped up now. Yeah, no, it's a solid team. Looking at it already, I think this is a little bit stronger than the previous one. The bench isn't too dissimilar for its lacking of players that are likely to play minutes should the 11 not manage to play the minutes.
Yep.
Are these two lads mates or something to both have gone for Flecken in goal? It's unless like I've been living in a cave for the past couple of months, I really don't understand why everyone's taken this gamble unless I'm completely missing something. Reece James, he could be brilliant if he plays, and we've mentioned this before. Like he's very consistent when he plays, but to start him at home to Liverpool is a bit of a risk potentially because we don't know how either side is going to turn out. And if Reece James doesn't play, considering the options that Chelsea have and the fact that Reece James hasn't played towards the end of the season as much as you'd want him to, he's got no one really that's going to be valuable coming off the bench in his place. So I think that's maybe the first place that you'd look to maybe change around just so that there's a backup at the very least if he is going to stick to James.
Yeah, definitely. I think on Reece James, I think he's kind of a wait and see. Obviously, a lot of us over the past few seasons have owned James and have experienced the highs and a lot of lows as well when he's injured or missing big opportunities, getting him back out of our team when he's picked up those injuries or just not playing consistent minutes. It is a very frustrating player to own, but the upside can be absolutely massive with Reece James because of that attacking threat. But it is going to be a new system. The past few years, they've been playing this 3 at the back with wing backs. Pochettino is traditionally a 4 at the back manager, so you imagine there's going to be a lot less attacking output from the likes of James and Chilwell. And like you said, that Liverpool game, absolutely anything could happen in that one. I think it's a wait and see with Chelsea assets. They've got good fixtures from game week 3 onwards. I think it's kind of see who the key players are in game weeks 1 and 2, then make your choice about which ones you want to target, and yeah, like we said, Reece James, the injuries, the inconsistency in minutes and a new system, I personally feel it's not worth the risk. And I would prefer maybe a City asset, an Arsenal asset at the back over Reece James.
Yeah, agreed. Do you know off the top of your head how much Reece James is? I am trying to
He's
find
5.5 this year.
5.5. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are plenty of other options who are more
100%.
I mean, if John Stones is the first man that comes to my mind.
Yeah, John Stones. This guy hasn't got an Arsenal defender because he's gone triple Arsenal attack. So obviously we spoke about Odegaard in the last section being at 8.5. If it wants to keep that triple Arsenal attack, might as well just drop him down to Martinelli, to be honest. Save that extra 0.5 million. Upgrade one of the bench players yet again, like we spoke about in the last section, or use that money to utilise someone in defence. Lack of Trent as well is a key feature we've seen so far. Obviously, me and you had Trent in our drafts. If there was a way this guy could find and get Trent into his team, I think that would make it look a lot stronger than having Reece James. I think Bruno and Rashford is a little bit overkill for Manchester United. I don't know about you, but that's kind of the way I see it.
That's fair enough, but if this man is a United fan, then fair enough, I can understand it, and I can also see all of them having some kind of output in the 2 of the 3 game weeks at the very least, bar that Spurs away game, because we don't know how that will go.
Yeah.
But the 2 home games that they have at the start of the season seem to be quite positive for them. I think, like you said, mentioning Odegaard and their 3 attacking Arsenal options, I think that's a really good idea to potentially take Odegaard out. You then could get someone for 5.5 million. There's your 1.5 million that can be added to Reece James to bring the Trent money, I believe. Unless Trent's 8.5, but I believe he's 8 million, isn't he?
He's 8. So,
yeah, so there you go. And there are plenty of 5.5 options because the midfield is stacked for cheap options who are quite likely to perform quite well.
We've got Enciso from Brighton, who is a popular asset that a lot of people are going for as well. They have a really good opening 3 fixtures, so I think that would potentially work well as a combination. You imagine Odegaard and James or Enciso and Trent, you kind of have to balance out which one you think is going to score more in those opening few weeks. And I think as well, this is something that I'm going to try and do with my draft, is get as many of the most expensive high value assets into the team, because it's a lot easier to come down if they're not performing well than try and scrape money around to get back up to them, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree.
Right, let's give this one a rating. I think this one's a lot lower than the last one. Personally, I'm going to go with a 5 out of 10 for this first draft.
Well, I'm going to stick to maybe out of I don't know. I looked at it and thought this is actually a lot stronger than the one before, and I do stand by that for its starting 11.
Yep.
But I do feel like you said, there are a few places they can improve, and they can definitely make the most of the Odegaard cost to maybe improve the whole of the squad. But you know what? As much as maybe I did say it was on the face of it a better squad than the last one, I'm going to commit to another 7.
Wow. Generous scoring from you tonight, mate. Right, let's move on to our next one. This one's a little bit closer to home for me. And closer to home, I guess, for you as well, Jake. It is our champion of our division last year, our head-to-head league that we played with everyone. It is my dad's team. This is his first draft. He sent it me over the other day. I didn't tell him I thought it was good. I didn't tell him I thought it was bad. I thought I'd probably get a situation like this where I'm going to review some drafts. So I thought, might as well, slander him live online. So this is my dad's team. We have the new Brighton goalkeeper, Bart Verbruggen. Yeah, we'll go with that.
That'll work, yeah.
Yeah, that'll work. Trippier, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Gabriel, Shaw, Maddison, Bruno Fernandes, Saka, Gibbs-White, Haaland, and Cody Gakpo. And then on the bench, Leno, Baldock, McAtee, and Kluivert.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. Is that it?
It's a good. It's a very strong all-round team. I think there's potential everywhere. I think everyone is going for that cheap option with the Sheffield United defender at the back. which may work, may not work. I mean, you'd think you'd back Sheffield to get at least 1 or 2 clean sheets, but it's just whether they're ever going to come in, and if they do come in, whether that's the week that they manage to sneak a clean sheet or some kind of output. So it's one of those things, really. I like the McAtee because I have seen him play on the odd occasion before. Clivert, is that the one from Roma?
Yep.
Well, that's that. He could be a little silky player. Who knows how Bournemouth line up this season? Last season they brought that player in. I can't remember off the top of my head what his name was, but I'm pretty sure he had a cracking game when they beat Liverpool. Very tricky winger, and along with the likes of Billing and Solanke in the middle, I feel like someone like Clivert could be a good factor for them.
Yep.
But that's just the bench. So I think his bench is the strongest we've seen so far for potential points should his first team maybe miss out on a couple of players playing.
Yeah, definitely.
Very strong back four. I think he's gone for the old faithful of last season's success.
Yeah, definitely.
Four that you'd expect to play. Of course, there's the controversy, maybe not controversy, but there's the questions similar to Brentford as to who's going to play out of the goalkeepers. Brighton in this stance have 3 to pick from, 3 very decent goalkeepers.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting, although I would potentially back Steele to start the season purely because he didn't play the end of last season poorly whatsoever. So I think that'll be a little bit harsh to drop Steele.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, when De Zerbi dropped Sanchez, I don't think many people expected that either.
No.
Yeah, and then going forwards, I think Haaland is a necessity. I don't think you need to even mention that. He's gone for more of a full-rounded team than having Salah to feature in his 11.
Yeah.
But he's got the Arsenal core. He's got United the key United player along with a defender as well. 2 teams who have a good start to the season. He's got Maddison, which is potentially a risk, but like we said the other day, he's cheaper than Son, so why not take that gamble? And like I said, there are players on his bench that are likely to come on should Maddison not feature. However, it's one of those things, really, isn't it, with Maddison? You'd think that if he doesn't start, he's probably going to play a few minutes, so he could get done in a little bit there, maybe a bit of harsh luck there should he not start. But if he does start, who knows what will happen there. You back him to do quite well. And then, of course, he's gone for Gakpo. We've said this, I think Liverpool-Chelsea is the biggest lottery of the first game week.
100%.
Because I have no idea how that's going to go, even as a Liverpool fan. Don't know who's going to turn up for Chelsea. I think you back Liverpool potentially just purely because of how poorly Chelsea were. But the fact that they're at home and the fact that they've got a new manager in Pochettino does definitely even it out a little bit. And then, Gibbs White, can't argue with him. I've got him in my team myself, and I think he's a very good differential to have. Whether he does something at the Emirates first game of the season is yet to be seen, but it's not a bad shout.
Yeah, definitely. I think a few kind of standout points from this team that I potentially would maybe look to change is I don't think Kieran Trippier this season represents good value for money. 6.5 million. Newcastle have one of the hardest fixture runs at the start of the season. So I don't think it's worth having him in the team, especially when your defence is kind of already stacked with Trent, Gabriel and Shaw. Obviously, Brighton, have Luton in the first game. They have 2 other good fixtures after that. Estupinian, a highly owned player, might even be on penalties this season. 1 goal, 7 assists as well for him last season. At 1.5 million less, what can he do with that money? You know what I mean? That is quite a lot of money to free up. Maybe you could upgrade Justin Clivert or go Gibbs White up to someone else. I think that money, that 1.5 million, could be used a lot more effectively within that team because there are so many good defenders at that 5, even 4.5. Obviously, we pointed out Matty Cash the other day as a potential option at 4.5 million. He seems absolutely great value for a defensive side. You imagine they're going to do quite well this season with Emery. So I think that is probably the one change I would make. Gakpo as well. It's one of them, who's going to play for Liverpool? Obviously, Salah's going to start on the right. You imagine Diaz on the left. And then you've obviously got Jota, and Nunes and Gakpo kind of fighting for that third spot up front, you'd imagine, unless maybe one of them, Gakpo, is playing a little bit further back.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think it's worth the risk at 7.5 million as well. I think there are better options. Obviously, he's got another Arsenal spot open, so I think maybe Gabby Jesus would be the better pick, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. It is a good. It's a bit of a dilemma, but at the same time, you can look at it both ways. You can see it as it's not a sensible risk, but it depends what you're playing for.
Yeah.
If you're playing to win this competition, then Jesus seems like the no-brainer for Gakpo because Jesus will play and he will potentially come out with some kind of decent return. But if you're just going to be different and maybe haven't not got too much to play for, you just want to make sure that you've got some players in that are maybe a bit more, add a bit of spice to your team rather than just following the crowd.
Yeah.
Then Gakpo isn't a terrible shout because I would say it's higher than 50-50 that he's going to play. Like, I do think he is likely to start, but even if he does start, it's similar to the Maddison situation. Whether he finishes the game is another thing. Whether he impacts the game potentially in the first match away at Stamford Bridge is another question. But I don't hate it. I don't hate the Gakpo idea, but it just, like I said, it just depends on what you're trying to play for and how far you want to potentially be behind after the first game week.
Yeah, definitely. And I spoke to my dad, and he has outlined his plans. He wants to win again this year. It's not.
This is just head to head, though, yeah.
Yeah. I think we'll probably have like a points league as well in my family. He won't win that. He'll be miles behind me. Proper.
And that'll be
proper
because
manager.
he didn't go for Jesus.
Exactly, he didn't go for Jesus. But I think I prefer Diaz over Gakpo as well to kind of add to this debate for me.
As in, like, you think Diaz is more likely to play?
Yeah, I think Diaz is more likely to get minutes than Gakpo. I think there's less competition on that left-hand side, to be honest. But
I don't know about that, Tom. I actually think, because you think, like, I think Klopp's been quite keen to play Nunes down the left-hand side recently. There's Jota.
Yeah,
I feel like Gakpo has almost come in as a Firmino replacement. And I do think he's been really highly rated by Klopp. So I would say, like, I'm going to just put it out there and watch after halfway through the season when we look back on this.
Yeah.
Like, I am going to put it out there. I do think he's the second man on the team sheet after Salah for those front three attackers, in my opinion.
Big claim. Big claim.
Would you say it's Diaz?
It's really difficult to say. Obviously, yeah, like you said, Nunes has been playing on the left, but I don't know. It's one of them, isn't it? Because he wasn't effective last season, especially for the money that you did pay for him. So it's just a difficult one. What is Klopp actually going to do to make this side work?
Yeah.
It's just one of them. I think Diaz or Gakpo, whichever way you're going to go, it's probably 50-50, isn't it? I mean, you're going to reap the rewards one way, you're going to have egg on your face the other way. Personally, I'd prefer just to kind of avoid it. That would be the better kind of solution for me, but
I think the one thing that would tip the balance for me is the fact that it's away to Chelsea.
Yeah.
So it's probably not worth it.
No, definitely not. A few people saying hi in the chat. Golden Goal Fantasy Football. Hi, mate. And Chat Stop as well. Hello. Let's move on. Actually, no, we need to rate this draft. We need to rate my dad's draft. We're going to go... Ooh. All right, I'm going to give this one the highest rating I've given out so far. I'm going to go 8. I think it is very solid. Good picks throughout the team. The bench does have players who potentially could come in if minutes are an issue for other players. So I'm going to go an 8.
I'm going to second that. I think that's an 8, and that's a solid answer.
Yeah, it's just a solid team. Few little tweaks, and it could be.
But we can't say too much, as it's your dad.
Exactly. We don't want him to win it again. Like he got really cocky last year, and he's probably watching this stream as well. Like, oh yeah, so we don't want him to win this year because he was unbearable at times last year. Celebrating
Well,
in my face.
Steve, if you're watching this, get as many Sheffield United players in.
Luton are a really good team. Triple up on Luton, Sheffield United, and Burnley. Yeah.
To be fair, Luton don't have a bad start to the season. I actually think they could start the season reasonably well.
All right, maybe we avoid the Luton picks then.
Sheffield United.
Yeah, Sheffield United. See if you can get the whole 11 instead. But also, he is a prime example of listening to my advice, watching my content. That's what he did last year. Absolutely smashed it in our league, in our head-to-head league. Was miles clear of everybody else. Put in a really good rank as well. I think he was about 500,000, which for like a first-time player is not bad at all. The season before, I think he was like 3 million. So he's taken on board the advice, watched all the videos on the channel. So it's a great advert for me to be like, yeah, my content works, you know. Pay attention, guys. Come on.
Have you seen? Have you seen in the comments someone's given it a 5? I love that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Bring him down to earth. Bring Steve down to
yeah.
earth.
Just bring him straight back down. Be interesting to see where George came last season. What was your rank, George? Let's have it. Let's have it in the chat.
Where's your team, lad?
Yeah. Right. Let's move on to the next one. It is Vardy Boys on Twitter. Now he's gone for a 4-5-1. And he has gone for Flecken in goal, yet again, another one of these. Gabriel, Estupinian, Ake, Zinchenko, Salah, Bowen, Bruno Fernandes, Saka, Matoma, Haaland. And on the bench is not even going to bother. It's the backup Brentford goalkeeper, Visser, Bell, and Woodrow. Jake, what are your initial thoughts on this team then?
From what I can remember, there it is. It's good. I think everyone's going with that 5 in midfield, aren't they? Come the first day of the season.
Yeah.
I think he'd be silly not to because of all the options that there are. He's gone for quite a few differentials in defence. I like that. Once again, the Brentford goalkeeper thing. I'm gonna have to keep my mouth shut just because clearly everyone knows something I don't. Because the way that he's gone for the goalkeeper as well at Burnley, unless he's going to switch that maybe when James Trafford joins the club.
Oh no, sorry, it's the Brentford. It's the other. Brentford
Oh, did you say
goalkeeper.
Brentford?
My
bad. Well, then they definitely really don't back David Raya, do they?
No, I think a lot of people are expecting him to potentially not play or leave. Obviously, they offered him the opportunity to leave, but no one met that 40 million valuation. He's still got a year left on his contract. So I don't see Brentford just not playing him for a year because he is a talented goalkeeper. He knows the system in and out. You know what I mean? Unless that 40 million offer comes in, he's going to be there straight away.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a very interesting situation, but clearly these FPL players are backing the new signing to play in goal. Defensively, like I said, there's a few differentials who are guaranteed to play minutes, and they're in teams that have got good starts. And I mean, Ake plays for the side that are going to probably Rolls Royce this league yet again.
Yeah.
And he seemed to be one of their best defenders in the league, if not the best, for his defensive attributes.
Yeah.
So I don't mind that at all. I like that. I think a lot of people have maybe been more inclined to go for John Stones because he's likely to play higher up, but even then, he doesn't really pop up with any any goals in open play. So I believe him and Ake are both just as likely as one another to maybe grab a couple of goals from a set piece. So yeah, I don't mind that at all. A bit of a differential considering how many people have Stones. Zinchenko, I mean, he's gone for quite a strong defensive unit for Arsenal, hoping that they maybe hit the ground running defensively. I think that could be a little bit of a risk, considering the fact that there are so many decent options attacking wise for Arsenal. And Arsenal last season, I think you probably agree that they were a lot more oozed after and in awe of for their attacking prowess more than their defensive capability. I know Ramsdale a lot of the time was the guy that was saving them.
Yeah.
So clean sheets may not be the thing that Arsenal are wild for, and I think maybe it's something that he might want to use his third Arsenal player to be maybe more of an attacking option.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that point. I think there is potential to have that third attacking Arsenal asset. I think the defensive structure kind of fell apart at Arsenal when Saliba got injured. Before that, they were putting up really good data in terms of expected goals conceded. I think they were leading the way for large parts of the season as a defensive unit. It's just as soon as Saliba got injured and Rob Holding was playing games. Yeah, not as good. But we'll have to see how they get on this season. Obviously, Timber joining as well from Ajax. Looks like Declan Rice as well is going to be kind of in that midfield. Maybe that kind of cleans it up, makes it even more compact at the back. Who knows? In midfield, there's a few differential shouts. Well, one differential shout and then one player we've not spoke about yet. Jared Bowen as the differential shout. West Ham's fixtures are, if I remember off the top of my head, as I get them up now, West Ham fixtures are
They're a bit mixed match.
pretty bad, I would say. I wouldn't be looking to bring in a West Ham player. Bournemouth in the opening game, good. Then Chelsea.
It's the home games, isn't it? It's the fact that the home
Yeah.
games that you rely on are so difficult.
Yeah, you're talking Chelsea, then Brighton away. Luton, we don't know what they're going to be like, but you imagine that's a positive fixture. Then it's City and Liverpool, grim. Then Sheffield United. I think it's not worth having a West Ham player who's going to be eating up quite a big bit of budget and in a midfield slot where there are so many other good assets with better fixtures. I don't think that quite makes sense, but I really like Bowen as a pick this year at 7 million as well. Coming on to talk about Matoma, a lot of people have him in their drafts. I have him in my draft. I think he's probably going to get the most minutes out of the Brighton attackers, but I don't know. Like it's so hard to say because they have so much talent in those attacking areas. He didn't finish the season on fire. Only one assist since game week 31 as well. So the attacking output has not been there from a statistical standpoint. So it's not looking good. And if he doesn't hit the ground running, and a lot of people own him, his price could drop rapidly because he's so highly owned if he starts to blank. So there's question marks about Matoma. What do you make about Matoma, and have you thought about putting him in your team?
I didn't have him in at all last season because I thought I joined the bandwagon too late.
Yeah.
And Brighton, regardless of how good they were playing, I was like, if I put him in, he will stop performing. So I, in the end, went for other options in the Brighton team.
Yeah.
And in the end, it seemed to pay off because those players seem to be the ones that finished the season a lot more strongly, points-wise. Not to say that Matoma's influence in the team is still immaculate. He still makes Brighton tick. He's still that option. He's still someone that the other side have to be so wary of. And maybe that's why Brighton's other players, attacking-wise, are able to open up and to receive more accolades for their performances because Matoma's being heavily marked by a couple of other players. But then again, on the contrary, I do think there are a few clips I did see towards the end of the season of Matoma missing some chances he really ought to be putting away.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's a bad shout because he's going to play. He 100% will play if he's fit because he's such a menace down the left. And so I do think he's someone Brighton look towards as that danger man.
Yeah.
And whether he's actually the man that scores or assists, he's always causing havoc, always being a nuisance. And so I definitely would be picking him to start the season.
Fair point. Made some very good points in there. Last player I want to talk about in this draft is Visser as the forward option. A lot of people going on Buemo. Some people are going for Visser. Not 100% sure on his minutes, what his kind of role's going to be within this team as well. Same with Buemo, but at least with him, you do feel there's a little bit more security in terms of game time and the fact that he is on penalties being the big one for him. So what do you make of Visser? I know we spoke about it the other day in, our stream where we went through our drafts, but what do you think about it?
I think it's one of those where I don't mind him being on the bench because I like the side he's put out and I can't see any of those players failing to play. I mean, bar the goalkeeper issue, that's a separate thing altogether. I think the outfield players should all play bar an injury or something else. But if they're fully fit and capable, then I can't see why they wouldn't. So I don't think Wissa will be a question as to whether he will come in or not. But whether he plays for Brentford full stop is another question entirely. You'd assume he'd get the opportunities with Tony being out. That being said, I think I mentioned this in the other stream. I do think Thomas Frank's more inclined to maybe have 3 at the back instead of 2 strikers. And to may opt for that focal point of Mbeumo. I know they've got Kevin Sharder, who I believe played a bit last season on loan. I don't know if that's now been made permanent, but I know he's still at the club. Okay, and I believe there was chat of, I don't know, it's rumours, but I believe Chelsea are interested in him at one point. I mean, who have they not been interested in?
That is true.
But I think he's another option that may start ahead of Wissa, because if they've made that permanent, I can't imagine it being for cheap. And so I feel like they're going to have a bit of reliance on him to maybe perform. So once again, it's just whether he can hit the ground running when he does get his opportunity, because granted, he will get an opportunity. Whether he plays a full game is probably more unlikely than not.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's an interesting option. Not too expensive as well to have on the bench, especially with this system. He is going heavy in midfield and heavy at the back as well. So I think as a nice option off the bench. Brentford's fixtures as well between game week 2 and 7 are quite nice as well. Lots of good fixtures in there where you can see them winning games and scoring by a couple of goals as well. So I think he is a nice bench option to have, but I do prefer Mbeumo over Wissa in my personal opinion. In terms of a rating for this draft, I think is very strong. Again, there's one or two players that I've highlighted, but not as many as other teams. I think the goalkeeper situation we've spoke about at length. Not personally going to be looking to bring Flecken into any of my drafts or have him in any. And Bowen, I think if you were to switch them potentially around, I think this would make this draft a lot stronger. So I'm going to go with a 6. I think if you swap them 2 round, could easily be an 8 or a 9 in terms of the draft rating. Jake, what are you going to go for?
I'm actually going to go to a 7. So I'm not going to be... I don't think it's as strong as the last one. And I think the main thing that's lacking it for it to be a really strong team is just the bench capability. I know I said that the outfield players are like going to start the season, but should something happen to one of the players, say an injury or something, then Wissa potentially will come in. But if the Luton players are relied on coming in, I'm not sure for a start. I don't know if these are players that will play for Luton. I can't. That's just my ignorance of not knowing the players. Okay, fair enough. But then are they going to concede goals, or are they going to keep clean sheets? Probably. Yes, they have a decent start, but it's likely they're going to concede more often than not. Wissa's 6 million sitting on the bench. I know we said he's a good player to have potentially, but you could, if you're going to bench him and you've got a team as strong as you do that are all going to play the minutes, maybe it's worth just downgrading and saving $500,000 to $1 million to be able to just improve on a defender. I don't mind Woodrow being there because there's a chance of him playing, but also because, like I keep saying, how strong their first team is, I don't think you're going to need to look beyond the second substitute if things go wrong.
Yeah, fairs. A lot of people agreeing in the chat as well with the 7. 7 from George and a 7.5 from FPL Noak. Sure, we'll go with that. If I've said it wrong, mate, apologies. I'm absolutely terrible at pronunciation. Absolutely the worst thing. That and spelling. That's probably the 2 that, yeah, they're my downfalls. Anyway,
I'm fantasy football. Right. Anyway.
Whoa! Not fantasy football. We're pretty good at that. You know.
Yeah, you're not too bad to be fair.
Yeah, I'm not too bad at that. I'm 60k ranked last year, so you know, got to big myself up on the stream. Get people to subscribe, get them in.
Just don't ask my rank last year.
Yeah. We'll keep lad. We spoke about this in the first one. You're here for the vibes. You bring the vibes. All right. I'll provide the knowledge. You're just here for the good times, the vibes. Keep the people ticking over.
Yes.
It would help if we could see your face as well, but you know, it didn't want to work today.
So I'm the voice of wisdom.
I did get that one right. Well, cheers, mate. Maybe I'm not as bad as I thought. Maybe it's just my old brain. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. It is FPL Jersey. He sent in his team on what looks like a potato. So maybe get a better phone, mate, or send a better screenshot next time. Apologies if I've offended you. I don't really care, but I have. Anyway, moving on to his team. Leno in goal, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Estepinian, Ped Porro, Salah, Mitoma, McAllister, Foden, Haaland, Calvert-Lewin, Jesus, and on the bench, Areola, Botman, Batiste, and Bell. Jake, I'm not sure if it's loaded up on your screen yet.
It's all right, I've got it on Twitter anyway.
Oh, he's got it on Twitter. Right. What are you saying, Jake? What are your thoughts on this draft?
It's not too bad. I think the front three is it goes the two strongest options I would say that you could have on fantasy right this second up front, and then the third option is a very decent a very decent differential should he play. But the issue is he doesn't seem to be able to stay fit. So I don't know. I would probably say Calvert-Lewin's probably a bit of a player. As much as you've tried to get that differential in, I don't know whether he'll play and whether he'll continuously play and whether he'll play the full 90 minutes should he play. So I'm not sure about Calvert-Lewin. As much as I would love to say, yes, great idea, I don't know if that's just a little bit too much of a risk. The rest of the squad seems to be fairly reasonable. They've got Trent, they've got Estepinian, they've got Pedro Porro. They've got Botman on the bench at home to Villa. That's a bit of a weird one because I'd probably back Newcastle to keep a clean sheet there, regardless of how strong Villa have become. And I don't know whether it's worth maybe just messing around, juggling around with Botman a little bit, because if you don't back him at home to Villa, I don't know where you're going to play him. Foden is another one. I know you're quite a big fan of Foden this season, but I feel like everyone's been a fan of Foden for the past few seasons, but then he can never get that consistency because, mind you, when he does play, he has the tendency to get double figures. So he is a really good asset to have should he play. But of course, that's when Pep Roulette comes into play. And then I'm not too fussed with it. It's very Liverpool strong, so I'd suggest maybe he's a fellow red. I like the Trent, of course, we do. We like the Salah. I think you've admitted to purely for the fact that if things do go wrong with him, we can at least save a bit of money on him.
Yeah.
McAllister, maybe one step too far. I did have him in myself, I will admit, but I think I am looking to maybe take him out and put someone else in just purely for the fact that I don't know how he's going to be worked into this squad. And there are options available that could be maybe of a stronger ilk just to start the season. So yeah, the likes of maybe McAllister and maybe even Foden. Haaland is not even a question. Apologies for that, but McAllister and Foden, I'd maybe be looking to consider maybe swapping them for Botman just for the first game of the season, and whether you want to keep McAllister in full stop or transfer him up someone maybe a bit more likely to play, maybe another option to think about.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, raise the point about Calvert-Lewin. 6 million this year, I think, has the potential to be a good asset at times. But it's the same story we've had with Calvert-Lewin. What seems for like an eternity is injuries and keeping this man fit. It seems like they don't really have a solution to his injury problem. He's just never able to keep a good run of games going and was quite poor last season. I think Everton potentially going to be one of these teams that are looking in the relegation places yet again. FFP means they haven't really got any money to spend. You know, that squad was already quite thin and piss poor in a lot of areas as well. So, you know, they're not going to add any quality with the lack of money they've got. So I think they're potentially going to be one of these clubs that does go down unless there's an injection of cash or they manage to find some players on the cheap who, you know, do an amazing job. So I don't really like Everton assets as a whole, apart from Branthwaite, who's 4 million throwaway on the bench. McAllister, we don't know what role he's going to be playing in that Liverpool system, do we? 6, 10, 8, who knows? Not on penalties as well this year, so that takes a big chunk of his points away from last year as well, obviously with Mo Salah being on them. Foden, like we said, I'm very keen on. I think if Mahrez leaves as well, that massively elevates Foden's opportunities to be playing even more game time. Looks like Cole Palmer's potentially going out on loan to Leeds as well, so again, another player who was potentially going to get minutes over Foden towards the back end of last season. He's now leaving, so, you know, increased opportunity for Phil Foden, and the fixtures for Manchester City are phenomenal. Like, really, really good. So I definitely think you need these players within that side and within that system as well. The rest of the team, I have absolutely no problems with at all. Really happy with that. Some people in the chat as well saying we're at 1.25k subs, so big up. Thank you very much. That was the most
Congratulations, bro.
That was the most underwhelming big up in the world. It was like, Big up.
Well done, me.
Whoa. Hey. Like I said, we are trying to hit 1,500 by the end of the month. So if you do enjoy the content like you see on the channel or enjoy these live streams, then yeah, do subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. In terms of a rating for this draft, I think I'm going to go 6 again. I think there's some very good players in there, but again, there's Calvert-Lewin and McAllister kind of kicking about that aren't the best and could be upgraded. So I'm going to go with a 6. What about you, lad? What are you saying?
Sorry, I've just been distracted by George's batty chirps telling me how McAllister's going to be as good as Henderson and Fabinho.
Oh, all right.
The batty chirps are already started in the chat.
Yeah.
I'm also going to give you a 6
Hmm.
for this team, purely for the fact, like we said, there are just a few places that could be improved upon. I feel like Botman should really be starting if you're going to have him in your team, especially for the fixture that they have. I would actually maybe be more inclined to go for Grealish over Foden, considering they're the same price. I just feel like Grealish is more likely to start and to not be rotated quite as much.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't think I'd have McAllister. And as much as I'm getting abuse for McAllister being really poor, I just don't think it's worth the risk right now.
100%.
And so I feel like there are other options out there to maybe go for.
Yeah, definitely. 100% agree on that one. So, FPL Jersey, if you are watching, you've got a 6. Upgrade your team. Put some bloody work in. Maybe watch some more of my videos. Just
At least there's no
suggestion.
carnage going on with the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Leno will start.
Yeah. Right, let's move on to our final draft we are going to be reviewing today. It is FPL Bateman's draft. He sent it in. And oh boy, in goal, it's our good friend Flecken. Yet again, everybody is absolutely rim-licking Flecken in this stream. Everyone that sent them in, just everyone has Flecken. Ped Porro, Luke Shaw, Estepinian at the back, Son, Saka and Ciso, Salah, and then a front three of Gabby Jesus, Haaland, Visser. And on the bench, Areola, Bell, Branthwaite and Baptiste. Very, very strong team, getting Haaland, Son and Salah all into it as well, with some other good options. But Jake, what are you thinking for this team?
I think the first place that I go to is Son, purely for his price tag and for his. It was a bit of an underwhelming season last season for his overall points. I think that is a lot of money to be investing in a player that hasn't had the best of seasons. And it's somewhere maybe you want to reinvest some more money in elsewhere. The bench is looking quite poor. And I know, once again, it is the bench, but should someone not play from the 11, it's hard to see where points are going to come from that bench. So maybe you could just maybe lower the playing quality in Son financially and save a bit of money, just to invest a little bit of an improvement on the bench for someone that would come in potentially and get that odd few points should you need it. Other than that, I do think it is a good team. I think fair play to him for being able to get Son, Haaland and Salah in all together along with Gabriel Jesus. He's got Enciso in, so I'm sure you'll be happy with that because I know you've been singing his praise and being in and over having him yourself.
Yeah.
So I do like that. I like that he's gone for an attacking and defensive option for Brighton, considering the start to their season. He's also got Saka and Jesus in the team, so that's good. He has only got those two, so there is potential there maybe to swap Son out for a cheaper Arsenal asset. But other than that, I think it's a fairly strong team. I think the only place other than Son that may not play the full game is, of course, Wissa. And if you're going to maybe contemplate that, you could improve your striker if you don't want to improve your substitutes by making a cheaper option than Son. But overall, not a bad side.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the Son comment. I think if you want to keep the Spurs asset or the Spurs kind of theme within that, I think maybe drop him down to Maddison and you could maybe upgrade one of the 4 million defenders to someone like, I don't know, a Chilwell, a James, a City defender. There's no Arsenal defenders in there as well, or upgrade Flecken, to Ramsdale. I think that would make this team a lot stronger as well. A few people as well questioning how can people trust the Spurs defense. Pedporo is a player for me who's not going to be in there for his defensive capability. Last season came in, made 13 starts after joining Spurs, getting 3 goals and 3 assists. It's all about the attacking upside that this man has. Spurs are still a very good team, and obviously they've got a new coach. There's going to be a new system. There's good fixtures after game week 2 as well, so you do imagine that they are going to keep some clean sheets along the way. And with Pedporo, he's at a price point where there's lots of other defenders if it doesn't work out, and you can switch him around. It's a very, very strong team, but I think it could be made even stronger.
Agreed. Completely agree with you, Tom. Yeah, I can't really say too much more about that except for everything you've said. I think Pedporo is a great asset to have purely for his attacking output, but then you've got that bonus of the fact that you're not relying on his clean sheets. But if he gets it, he's likely to get double figures in that game week because he really does seem to be. He's similar to Trent. Like, you're not getting him in. He's not worth 8 million for the fact that Liverpool are going to keep clean sheet after clean sheet. It's because he's going to be most likely involved in the setting up or the scoring of goals for Liverpool.
100%. It's just like it's the upside with these kind of fullbacks, and now Trent playing in midfield. It's the upside that these guys have. You know, they've got the assist potential, got the goal potential. That's the key difference I've found over playing FPL for numbers, get my words out, number of years now is, you know, I used to go for people like Lewis Dunk. Like, that was one I was looking at last year. In the end, I went Estupinian, and it massively paid off because of the attacking output that he offered. Yes, Lewis Dunk was the safer pick, but I think that's the way people have got to see this game is don't go for the centre-backs, go for these defenders that have such high upside that when they do pop off, they are worth it. Like, they are massively worth it when they get a goal, assist, bonus points, because they're just better than the cheaper centre-back options, in my personal opinion.
I completely agree with you, Tom.
Yeah, few people asking, will there be a stream tomorrow? No, me and Jake do have social lives. We're not absolutely addicted to FPL. We're not sat here, you know, crusty sock on the floor, just talking about FPL all the time. Well, Jake isn't. I'm more out.
We'll be back on at 9 o'clock tonight.
I'll be back on at 9. Just let me and me crusty sock have a go first, and then I'll be back on at night. No, we're kidding. I think we'll probably do a stream. I don't know, maybe next week at some point. We're going to make it a regular thing. I think me and Jake need to kind of iron out a day that works best for both of us. Maybe like a Wednesday. A Wednesday every single week, pre-game week, previewing the week upcoming, and obviously reviewing our teams, answering questions from you guys, because these streams are doing really well. We're getting lots of positive feedback as well from you guys on Twitter, in the comments section, so it is really good to see. It's really good to do. I'm going to do deadline streams as well, so if you want to come and attend them, ask me any questions, that is the perfect opportunity to kind of do that. But yeah, we won't be doing any more streams this week. Potentially maybe next week we'll see if we've got something in the pipeline, but the closer we do get to the season, we will see more regular streams on a set day at a set time. So you can all come and say hi to me and Jake every single week, because, you know, we're just great guys. We're just great guys. But, Jake, we do have to rate this draft. What are you giving it?
I'm going to give it a 7.5. I think it's a very solid side. However, the bench is something that will not be of any help, I don't think, to them. And I think Son is there, who really needs to be reinvested wisely.
Yeah. 7.5. First person to use a decimal point. Cheeky bugger. I'm gonna go. You know what? We're gonna continue the decimal point. I'm gonna go 6.5. I think, like we've said, the Son issue, if that's downgraded and funds are used elsewhere smarter, this team could be amazing. Could be a really, really strong team to have in game week 1, because they've got some of the key assets you need. It's just rearranging some of the funds to get even more high value assets within that team. But like I said, it is a good team, good starting point. Just a few little tweaks could make this team amazing. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I've gone.
Well, I was just going to say, this is just advice, isn't it? Especially from someone like you, who actually has the statistics and looks at the prices and really breaks it all down. Whereas if you're going to look from my standpoint, I think the likes of Son being in your team, the only advice I would say there is if it's really in your gut that Son is going to score 3 goals on the first game of the season, then go for it. But if you want sensible advice, then that's when you need to listen to the likes of Tom.
Yeah, sensible advice always doesn't work. You've got to sometimes trust your gut. If you've got a feeling that like a certain player is going to absolutely pop off, and maybe like something I always like to do is if I'm potentially going to be watching one of the games, try and look to bring in one of the players as well. It just makes the experience a little bit better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, completely.
100%. Obviously, this stream didn't go well. It did go according to plan eventually. Jake's face isn't here, so it's not gone. It's not gone quite well.
So
But
I've got my kecks off now. It's quite hot in
yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. This is when I put the camera back on and you just
Whoops.
helicoptering. But yeah, we hope you did enjoy this kind of stream where we went through your guys' drafts. If you do enjoy this kind of content and you want to see more, do like, comment, and subscribe, as there is loads more coming out on the channel. I've got a video coming out tomorrow at 6, I think, which is my updated draft. I'm going to be going through that with you guys, talking about the team, talking about the players that I've selected. That should be really good, so go and watch that. There was some issues in that video as well. My mic didn't record, so it's just got my terrible camera audio. So the audio is not amazing, but you'll still enjoy it, whatever. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I'm just going to give up. Thank you very much.
It was the lag, lad. It was the lag.
It was the lag. This stream has been an absolute nightmare from start to finish. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen, very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye from me and a bye from Jake.
Bye-bye.